What? First, I just really want to take a pause and talk about the Dominican Republic. I was there uh, uh, this week, and just a devastating issue. Over 200 people died, over 100 were injured, and that's why today in Spanish I'm saying, "In God we trust," because that's the time when you need to lean on your faith. I was at a vigil last night. This is a great deal of pain. That club was there for over 50 years, and hearing some of the stories, one of the main people that deal with the infrastructure, Jimmy, he deployed personnel there just to learn that his son was inside the room and his son died also. Stories after stories, and we just want to say to the Dominican people of this city and of the country, we're lifting you up in our prayers, and we are here for you. We want to assist any way we can as they deal with this grieving period. Again, good morning. We came into office. We were big on these sheds. We all hate them, and we wanted to get them down, and we needed the right teams to do that and the right partnership to do that. And that meant giving tens of thousands of sheds that we have, or hundreds of sheds we have throughout this city, to get them off our streets. And it has been a nagging problem. I remember being with Bill de Blasio, and we went to NYC talking about getting the sheds down, and we were not able to get many of them down. And so it's crucial that we have a clear plan, and we need partners in government to do so. And both Councilman Powers and Bacha have been partners in this area, and I want to thank both of them for the legislations that we're seeing in front of them. And too many building owners have made the decision, instead of completing the inspections and repairs, they're letting sheds languish above our streets, restaurants, and apartments, crowding our sidewalks and darkening our streets. Some of these sheds have been up so long, they probably have the ability to vote, the age of time they've been there. And we need to really focus on that. And it's interesting, when I go to NYCHA, many of the young people in NYCHA that grew up as adults always remember the sheds being up and around their property. And that is just unacceptable. And it's time to get them down. We launched Get Sheds Down, a sweeping set of initiatives to remove unsightly sidewalk sheds, blocking light and covering up our beautiful buildings. And so 2 years later, New Yorkers have already seen a huge difference. Our streets are lighter and brighter. There is less trash and less opportunity for crime. People hide on top of sheds before we put the see-through meshing and screen on top, and they commit crimes. They hide in the dark passageway. They unscrew the light bulbs. It has become just a magnet for criminal behavior, and that's why we knew this was a public safety issue as well as an economic issue. A report was recently put out that showed those retail shops that had sheds up saw a decrease in their economic viability. And so by moving forward, our streets are lighter and brighter. There is less trash, less opportunity for crime, and more space for pedestrians and customers for our small businesses. We've already taken down 330 long-standing sidewalk sheds and began our work on more colorful, better lit designs for the times when sheds do have to go up, because we're clear, there are times when sheds need to go up, but when you hold them up too long, it gets in the way of what the real role is for a shed. And in a moment, we'll add one more shed to that list. We're signing 5 bills today to bring down even more sheds throughout our city and reclaim public space for the public. These 5 bills will, 1, make sure property owners finally finish repairs and take their sheds down. 2, improve the designs of sidewalk sheds that do go up. And 3, change how often we inspect our buildings. Increase the lighting under sheds and issue penalties to buildings that let sheds stay up for years. And thank to our entire team. This is something where Jimmy really was looking out over. Thank you, Commissioner Otto, for this. Chief Public Realm Officer Yating Liu, who always looking for more space for people to enjoy. And also want to thank our Councilmember Powers and Bacha for sponsoring these bills. The New York City sidewalks must be safe for all all of us who use them, and they need to look as good as the people who walk on them. And these bills will help us accomplish that task. So now, uh, let's start the first shed. You want to help me, Jimmy?
Marianne, I think that shirt's in Italian.
Okay.
Those gloves are too involuntarily removed.
One,
Two, three.
Pull around the back.
Bill 391A, that's who she said. Bill 31.
It's Italian.
We got fact checking on
Reduce bills. 394. 660.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
To Commissioner Otto.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you to everyone who's been a part of this. So for posterity's sake, I want the record to reflect, and I want to update one of the numbers that the mayor provided. So on April 17th, 2025, 8,477 sheds exist on the streets of the city of New York. That is actually down 563 from the day in July of 2023 when the mayor announced Get Sheds Down. The more impressive number is the number I want to update. The mayor said 330. The number of longstanding sheds that have come down, those are sheds that have been up for 5+ years, since the mayor announced Get Sheds Down, is actually 339. And that includes, which sometimes are the most difficult ones, city-owned sites. So the 563 number, it's better to be down than up, but that's just really a result of the vagaries of sheds in New York City. The fight to reduce that number writ large is the fight that's on. Mayor, you are quite familiar with my great chief of staff, Jason Rozevsky. Jason's favorite quote is that old one from JFK, and it's a little antiquated in its language. You know, essentially it says victory has many fathers and defeat is an orphan. And when the council passed the legislation, there was some side chatter about people claiming victory. And I found that peculiar because you can't win a game when you're in the second quarter. And when it comes to the game of sheds in New York City, maybe we are at halftime, but there's a lot of game ahead of us. And that's not to say that there isn't credit, and I'm going to mention some of the names who I think deserve that credit. But what's notable is that this legislation positions us across all fronts in this challenge to be able to bring about the change that we all want. And the mayor laid out that change, again, in that summer of 2023 with Get Sheds Down. And that is obliterate the perception that the streets of New York City are inundated with sidewalk sheds. And we do that by addressing the quality of life issues that arise from the sheds. And we do that by introducing a new type of shed onto the streets of the city. We also have to reduce the overall number of sheds. And as the mayor alluded to, for the first time ever by any administration, we are taking a holistic review of the city's facade inspection program, Local Law 11. Local Law 11's predecessor was Local Law 10 of 1980, meaning we haven't looked at these rules even before the last New York Mets World Series. And take it from me, that's a god-awful long time. And then finally, this legislation addresses the real target of the mayor's ire, and that is sheds that are up for a really long time without the underlying work being done. The sheds are not the end. The maintenance of the buildings is the end. And what this legislation does is give our agency the tools to better hold property owners in compliance. Real quickly, it frustrates the heck out of me when I read in the newspaper stories about sheds being up for so long or this particular community, because I know the ton of work that the DOB team has been doing over the last 8 months that is not public yet. We hired two phenomenal firms, ARIP and PAU, to do these redesigns. We're 7 or 8 months into this work. At sometime during the summer, I'm going to come to the mayor and say, Mayor, here are 6 new redesigns, 4 at grade level, 2 above street level for us to choose. And without spoiling anything, the work is not done, but we sat with the 2 companies and we saw their work to date. And I can tell you, as those designs exist today and they're not done, they are a marked improvement than what's out on the street. And also, as the mayor alluded to, the Local Law 11 study. We have Thornton Tomasetti, one of the top firms, looking at other jurisdictions, looking at material testing, talking to the inspectors who do this work, talking to building owners to figure out how we squeeze efficiencies. Not just the cycle, not just the inspection period. We think we can reduce the number of sheds that are needed in many other ways, and that's what that local law study, Local Law 11 study is doing. Quick aside, the mayor mentioned NYCHA. One of the things that came out of our work already with Thornton Tomasetti, and I have to thank Councilmember Powers because he incorporated it into his legislation. We know, Mr. Mayor, that NYCHA campuses are overshed, and we have now put in legislation that we are really confident at NYCHA and other campuses that will reduce the number of sheds. It's basically a formula of how high the building is, how far something can fall out, and we think we have too many sheds up in NYCHA. We know the quality of life issues that it creates, and there's one other issue. There is a tremendous expense in cleaning the sheds and behind the sheds, so we're going to make real progress for the residents of NYCHA. Lastly, credit. Thank you, Councilmember Powers. Thank you, Councilmember Botcha. Thank you, Chair Sanchez. I want to thank, since I used the sports metaphor, the football metaphor, I want to thank our head coach, and that is the mayor. The mayor gave us a clear directive, and the mayor has talked to me on many occasions, like, we are high profile on this, Jimmy. We got to get this done, and we are committed to doing that. I want to thank former Deputy Mayor Mira Joshi. If the mayor was the head coach, she was our offensive coordinator, and she was absolutely rabid about this. I want to thank DM Roth, two members of his team, my dear friend Yating Liu, Sonia Guayar. Thank you so much. And Mayor, lastly, if you give me 2 more minutes, other agencies in the city, and God bless them, they get to do some of the pretty things. To belabor the football metaphor, our agency, DOB, we're the offensive line. We're what the Washington football team used to be proud of. We used to call the Hogs. Other agencies, they got diamond earrings, they got glasses, they got fur coats. We got sweat, we got dirt, and we got snot. And Mr. Mayor, we have a lot of technically skilled people in our agency, smart engineers, smart architects. But from this blue-collar guy to a blue-collar mayor, our agency is quintessential blue-collar and quintessential New York. We are resilient and we are gritty. And you use a couple numbers, 8.5 million New Yorkers, 32 million opinions. I've heard you say that once or twice. I'm going to end with this. 1.1 million buildings, 40,000 active construction sites, 500 inspectors. This agency is the heart and represents the heart of New Yorkers, and I am incredibly proud of the work that they do on this issue and every day for New Yorkers, and I'm honored, Mr. Mayor, to be able to be a part of this team. We are on the cusp, not mission accomplished by any stretch of the imagination, but we are positioned to fulfill Get Sheds Down, and we're real excited to do it. I've gone on way too long, but I don't get these opportunities often anymore. I used to do this on a daily basis, and damn, I was good at it. And entertaining. My Twitter account is not as entertaining as it once was because I work for someone else, and I don't want my nonsense to be attributed to the mayor. But thank you for the time, Mr. Mayor. And try to follow that act up, Regina. Next, the president and a wonderful ally on this and many other things, the president of the Downtown Brooklyn Partnership, Regina Meyer.
The commissioner is right. That's a both of you are very tough acts to follow, so I won't even try. But what I do want to say is this is a momentous occasion, not just for downtown Brooklyn, but for the entire city. And we have all know we've been beset by huge amounts of sidewalk sheds for way too long in city-owned buildings, court buildings, specifically in downtown Brooklyn, which you know from Borough Hall days. Up and down our retail corridors, which is so key to the economic development and the lifeblood of our city, and at NYCHA. And so the reason why we took this on is that we all know sidewalk sheds are dark, they're dank, they smell sometimes, they cause real problems in retail, and they have real public safety problems as well. They're intended to be temporary. We get that. We, of course, support growth in New York City. But the bad actors will be addressed in these 5 bills, and I really do thank everybody for making this happen. This is real progress that we have this legislation, and that the buildings department, thank you to all of the building staff, can really start to take on this issue. So on behalf of downtown Brooklyn, thanks again to the mayor, to the commissioner, and to the council members who supported this bill, and of course to all of the staff at City Hall who worked so hard to make this happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And just two great New Yorkers, both you, Regina, for so many years, and Jimmy, just the heart and soul of this city. Thank you for the work you're doing. A few on topics for the sheds.
Hello. 2 questions on topic. If you hate scaffolding so much, Why can't you get it down at the DCAS building a block from here, which has had scaffolding up for 9 years? You have the second one too.
Yes, and we're looking at this. We got to lead by example, and there are too many city buildings where you see these sheds are up. And I know we're zeroing in, and I know Jimmy, you're chopping at the bit. You want to talk about that? Yes.
It's you're right, and the mayor's been clear to us. We can't dictate to the private sector and then and not heed our own words. So the deputy mayor's team leads a multi-agency task force, and we meet regularly, and we are systematically going through the longstanding sheds, including city-owned. I mentioned we're down the 330 plus number. That's around a little more than half of the longstanding sheds are out there in 2 years. So different buildings, including city-owned ones, have different stories. Some buildings are scheduled to be demolished. There's a history to all of it. There's a reason why some buildings have longstanding sheds. It's not an excuse. We're not accepting it as an excuse, but some are more complicated than others. And we systematically are taken down. On the private sector, we go to court. We go to criminal court. We get criminal court summonses. So the mayor is clear. We're clear. We're doing everything we can, and one by one, they'll come down.
Some scaffolds already have different designs, especially fancy buildings. Carnegie Hall has red, Saks Fifth Avenue has white. What gives? Why have these fancy buildings already been allowed special scaffolding designs?
So in a previous administration, there was a competition, not the RFP that we're doing. It was the Bloomberg administration. And the Urban Umbrella won. That's what you see on some of the high-end buildings. It's beautiful. It's not affordable for everyone, and it's not easy to put up with the efficiency that folks need. But that's proprietary. You have to pay that premium. So you see certain buildings that can afford it go beyond what we have as our minimum. What we are doing with our redesign is we will establish a threshold saying anyone who wants to put up a shed has to meet these criteria. If someone wants to go above and beyond that and do a higher end, they're free to do it now, and they'll be free to do it after our redesign.
Anybody else about this?
Great. Thanks you all. As they move out, Katie, who's Katie? Italian, I'm supposed to say E-N, but my heart is in the right place. This is so important what we do to get sheds down, and we're going to move forward on that. So before we go into top line questions, this has been, again, a continuous week. I was up in the Bronx. This afternoon, this morning with D.A. Clark, Dalcell Clark, took down a very dangerous gang. And these guys, 20 guys, were responsible for a substantial number of shootings, similar to what we did in Brooklyn when we took down a substantial number of gang members there. So it's important that we focus on these gangs and ensure that we dismantle them. They have a disproportionate number of shootings, and it's crucial that we focus on going after them one at a time. Yesterday, speaking of good news, yesterday we stood with former Mayor Bill de Blasio to announce that as part of our fiscal year 2026 executive budget, we have made a permanent $167 million long-term commitment to fund critical early childhood education programming for children and families now and in the future. These investments include a first ever baseline commitment to annual funding for citywide 3K expansion for pre-K students with disabilities. And additionally, our public schools will be conducting a strategic realignment of federal funded Head Start program to expand early Head Start for younger children. This announcement comes just a week after we announced that we will be supporting hiring 3,700 new teachers at nearly 750 schools in the city next year. It's just crucial that you see the continued holistic approach to addressing our educational needs. These investments will help our youth by providing them with more individualized care that will help them more easily learn and thrive. And so we want to continue to make sure this is the best place to raise children and families. And I want to open the floor up now to all of you to answer some off topics.
Go ahead. Oh, Ayana.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay, no worries. Good afternoon, Mayor.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good.
I was up in the Bronx where you held the press conference with Darcel Clark, and you were calling out, lawmakers, saying that some of the legislation passed in recent years has led to the city being less safe. Is there a specific local laws here in the city that the council has passed in recent years that you think are making the city less safe? Are you speaking with them? And then also, do you have an update on your legal defense fund? It seems like it's $3 million in the red. Is there a plan to clarify that? How will you move forward on that?
Yeah, first of all, we stated before the How Many Stop Acts. We're looking at the Gang Database Act. As you saw from being in the Bronx, we saw how the chief of detectives talked about how crucial the gang database was. So when you start to do an analysis, they passed a law that people have a right to sleep on the streets. You know, we could go down the line. I mean, these laws are just not in touch with what is happening on the ground. And that's the problem. And that's why I say lawmakers must get out from behind the sterilized environment of their chambers and go into the street and see the impact on these laws and what we're doing. And if you don't, you are going to hamper the productivity coming from our partners, our DAs, our prosecutors, the police department, and other law enforcement entities. And so these laws have a direct impact. You saw those shootings. You saw how horrid they were. You heard the numbers of recidivism. These are the same guys over and over. Some of them are arrested repeatedly for robbery. Some of them are arrested for repeatedly discharging a firearm. Total disregard for families and children. So it's a real problem when there's not a real connection and that partner. Criminal justice includes prosecutors, police, judges, and lawmakers. We're doing our job. We brought down crime. Lowest number of shootings this quarter in the recorded history. Second lowest number of homicides. 23,000 guns removed off our streets. We just continue to do our job, but that Groundhog Day of crime is a problem. Legal defense. I heard this over and over again about my legal defense. Unless you guys are planning on chipping money, why are you asking me? I have a relationship with my attorneys, and it is my relationship with my attorneys, the relationship with my attorney. I don't understand if the desire is, he Eric owes money, then I'm not going to fulfill that. I have a relationship with my attorney. That is not part of, I'm going to do my job as the mayor. And how I pay off my legal fees is between Eric Adams and his attorney.
Hello, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, how are you?
Mr. Mayor, the City Council sued your administration for that executive order to open ICE in Rikers Island.
Mm-hmm.
Probably you expected that, or no? That's my question. Or
You say, am I?
did you expect it, probably, or no? But also, why do you think they want to keep those dangerous criminals in the city of New York?
Wow, boy, I'm glad you asked that question. Listen, I've been consistent that we must do everything to make our city safe and to collaborate. When the first deputy mayor came on board, there are certain areas I needed him to focus on. I relegated the responsibility of looking at the possibility of an EO. He went to Rikers several times. He sat down and interviewed law enforcement. He did his job, and I think he briefed all of you, and it's up to him. He independently came to the determination on what's best for the city, and I'm happy that he's on board because we have to deal with the closures of Rikers Island and other items that is on his plate, and he's looking at all those things on his portfolio.
Hey, Mayor,
How are you?
Good. Following up on the question about your trust, do you think that owing that really large sum of money in any way makes you compromised to the whims of your attorney? And then my second question is, you and your first deputy, Randy Mastro, have repeatedly talked about the dangers that Venezuelan gangs pose to the city. Can you provide any data to us today or any examples of the dangers they're posing? Are there threats? Because it's not evident like what you're talking about there.
Okay, answer your first question, no. Answer to your second question, the police commissioner will give you the information that you needed about these gangs. And I can tell you this, these dangerous gangs are not standing on corners selling flowers. They're shooting at police officers. They're doing dangerous things. When I was down in Ecuador, many people did not want to leave Ecuador. They stated they wanted to stay in their country. They fled Ecuador because the gangs took over. They came to New York and they said, wait a minute, these are the gangs we ran away from. And I don't know why we want to romanticize what dangerous gangs are. They're dangerous gangs. And we're going to do everything possible to collaborate with federal officials to remove these dangerous gangs off our streets, like the one that Homeland Security Secretary assisted us in a takedown earlier, I think it was earlier this year. They are violent. They have a total disregard for public safety. They have a total disregard for documented and undocumented. And we're going to do everything we can to remove them. And I have not made it clear that we're not. You know, we're at a time in our city where we have to ask ourselves, as I said earlier, whose side are we on? Are we on the side of people who are violating innocent people? We had a undocumented person that raped a 14-year-old child. I'm not on his side. I'm on the side of justice to go after him. Whose side are we on? I know the side I'm on, and I think other folks need to ask the question what side they're on.
2 questions.
Yes.
First, will you vow to pull the executive order if ICE does any civil deportation?
I'm sorry, say it again?
Will you vow to pull the executive order if ICE does any civil deportations?
Got to speak to the first deputy mayor. He's handling that.
Oh, okay.
He's right here. Can you step up?
Yeah. No, he doesn't step up to the podium. He step up when he could do his own thing. You ain't got to come up, Randy. Once you start, they just start telling you to come up, you in trouble. So speak, do a gaggle. He'll do a gaggle after to talk just on his executive order. He did his analysis.
Okay, I have a second question.
Yes.
So about the state's discovery law, do you support the state's discovery law deal that's on the table? Is Albany going far enough? Do you think 2019 criminal justice reform should be rolled back even more or even completely?
You know more than me. You guys get leaks before I know about them. I don't know. Is there a deal on the table?
Yeah, so you haven't been talking to the state about that then?
Yes, but no one told us there was a deal, official deal, and the deal is when it's signed. A deal is not when it's leaked out to the press. When this deal is signed, then I can respond to that. Right now, the governor has made it clear that she believes in doing some reform. She has made it clear on the mask ban. She has made it clear on the phone ban. She's made it clear. And so when there's a deal, then I can respond to the deal. I don't want to do anything that's going to impede the deal that they're working on.
Katie?
Hey, Mayor Adams, 2 questions.
Yes.
First is about, I know you've said your campaign is going to appeal the Campaign Finance Board's continued decision to not award you matching funds.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't seen any movement on that. Can you update us on whether you will actually appeal that? My second question is about the South Brooklyn Marine Terminal wind project.
Yes.
A bunch of us in this room were at your groundbreaking last June. You were excited about it. The Trump administration has now paused that. What's your response to that? You praised that this project would bring thousands of jobs to the city, clean energy. Have you spoken to the Trump administration? And especially, this seems like this is a economic blow to the city because this is supposed to be a very big project for the city, especially for the community of Sunset Park.
First of all, when we have an announcement for CFB, I'll make that announcement and let you know. And you're right, this is a huge project for us. Thousands of jobs, being able to manufacture the wind turbines, it's a huge project. And we're going to advocate hard for it. We're going to ask our unions to step up because it's the jobs that are available, renewable energy. This is a real W for us. And we're going to communicate and do everything that's possible to get this project moving forward. We did a great announcement. The congressman was there as well as other folks who were involved. We're going to do everything possible to make it happen.
Have you spoken to anyone in the Trump administration yet about this? I know Governor Hochul's put out a statement saying she was opposed to it. And if
you said she's opposed?
Opposed to it. Have you spoken to the Trump administration?
Our Intergovernmental Affairs Deputy Mayor Raspberry is lining up all our communications to make sure our team is communicating.
Hi, Mayor.
What's happening? How are you?
Good.
Good.
So, sorry, now I'm like forgetting what I was going to say. Tomorrow you're going to D.C., wondering if you're going to meet with President Trump, anyone in his administration during the trip. And yeah, that's the main question.
Yeah. Anytime we go to D.C., we try to maximize our opportunity. Deputy Mayor Raspberry is coordinating my schedule, and she'll give it to me probably later on this afternoon. But we try to, while we're there, we want to advocate on behalf of our team, and I know Tiffany, Dee and Raspberry normally get the information out, and we put the schedule out the night before.
Mr. Mayor, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. I wanted to check in on a story we wrote about 1199. We did an investigation that found the union fund was being used by the president, George Grisham, for a lot of improper purposes, like family gatherings and sort of underwriting costs that had nothing to do with the union. I'm just curious if you were familiar with the story. I know you're an advocate for labor. Does that concern you at all that this fund is being used in this way?
I read the story, and I think the union leadership and representation, they understand what they do and how they do it. And I am a strong believer in unions, but I think that the union could tell you and answer the questions. I'm not the spokesperson for the union. I don't speak on behalf of the union, and I don't have the full details of how the union is carrying out their business. So it really would be unfair for me to talk about how they do their internal policies.
Hi, Mr. Mayor.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good.
Two questions. First, Homeland Security announced that there were ICE raids in New York City and around New York City last week. They picked up, they say, 206 undocumented people. So just wondering, did you guys...
I'm trying to hit the last
they
one.
picked up around 206 people. They say were connected with gangs and different things. Just wondering if you had advance notice of these raids, if there was any cooperation with you guys, just kind of how that worked. And then second question for you, the kind of the front runner right now in the mayoral race, former Governor Andrew Cuomo, he was allegedly used AI for some of his platforms. His team says that they did this to check work, but they had ChatGPT sources in there. Just wondering what your take is on that.
First, we're not allowed to collaborate with ICE for civil enforcement. We're not allowed to do that. But we will collaborate with them for criminal cases, but we're not allowed to. When you think about using AI for your policies, you're using AI. It's just so difficult to. I don't know if people realize the complexities of being the mayor of the city of New York. It's like no other job. No other job. You're under a great level of scrutiny. People are going to watch everything you're doing. And if you're not familiar with it, you think you could slip stuff by. And you just can't. And so we should be focused on the stuff that EA did and not the force AI stuff. I'm doing the work. And I think he has to answer, why would they use AI to do a policy. You know, I'm just blown away. When I read that story, I said, "Wait a minute, this can't be true." You know, there must be more to it than what we think. I say over and over again, and you guys heard me say it over and over again. All of this Eric-like candidate stuff, you know, it's just not going to get it. And when he did that, he pulled out, it appears, that they're going to do 500,000 new homes in the next 10 years. Did you hear that from somewhere? From me. That's our plan. So, huh? That's our moonshot goal. So when he went to AI to say, can you give us one of the greatest housing plans we can do, they pulled out my moonshot goal and incorporated. His people failed to say, well, who had the plan first? Think about that for a moment. You know, that's a duplicate. I said that there are a lot of Eric-like people. If that's not an example of taking my moonshot goal of 500,000 units in 10 years and AI found it for him. All you got to do is go Google, you know, what is the greatest housing plan? Who did the greatest level of reform in housing in the city? Who broke the records for the most housing built in 1 year, in year 1 and year 2? Who moved more people out of homeless shelters into permanent housing in year 1 and year 2? Who had more people use voucher programs in the history of the program? All you got to do is, we don't need Eric-like action. Eric-like action speaks louder than AI. It's EA, not AI. And so that was bizarre for me. Let me tell you folks something. I said it before and I'm gonna say it again. This is going to be an interesting mayoral campaign. Watch, so many things gonna happen, so many moving pieces. This is far from over. There are many layers, and the only rule you all should live by: don't ever count Eric Adams out. He's a native New Yorker. He has the grit, he has the resiliency, he has the energy of working class people. I didn't get here merely because I was not willing to outwork everyone. And I'm going to do it again for the people of this city.